Alright, I'm pissed! YouTube has taken down my previous Final Destination 6 Bloodline videos thanks to Warner Brothers flexing their copyright hammer like I was leaking government secrets instead of talking about fictional flying logs and fells melting MRI deaths, so this time I'm doing things differently. Since I can't use any clips except for very few available in the trailers, this video will be mostly me with a script so detailed it might as well be Death's own damn blueprint. This video includes every single kill from Final Destination Bloodline described in graphic spoiler heavy detail. You've been warned, viewer discretion is advised. If you're not into vivid gore descriptions and brutal spoilers, now's your chance to hit the eject button. But if you're sick of studio takedowns, you love horror that pulls zero punches and you're ready to hear how a vending machine can turn someone into a Pez dispenser, then slam the like button like he's just got bisected by a lamppost and subscribe so we can keep flipping the bird to the algorithm together. Death waits for no one and neither do I. Let's dive into Final Destination 6 Bloodlines, every kill, every scream, every splatter. Like every Final Destination, Bloodlines opens with a big disaster that almost was. This time we're headed back to 1969 for a posh opening night at the Sky Needle, a saucer-shaped glass restaurant atop a towering structure, clearly not the Space Needle. The vibe is all glitz, glamour and gravity-defying architecture, and also a great place for a whole bunch of people to die. So let's walk through this catastrophe in order. A waiter pops open a bottle of champagne with a bit too much flair. The cork hits the central crystal chandelier. A single sharp crystal shard breaks off and falls, striking the glass floor below. It leaves a small crack, just a little skimmer in the glass, but that's all Death needs. Guests continue dancing, completely unaware that each step is widening that fracture. Meanwhile, a little Hellraiser kid on the upper observation deck tosses a penny off the balcony for fun. Bad move, bud. The coin sails down and falls into a ventilation shaft, where it rattles around until it dislodges a pressure regulator in the gas system. A leak begins. We don't know it yet, but the Sky Needle is about to become a fireball in the sky. The crack from the chandelier has now spread across the dance floor thanks to the weight and movement of the dancing crowd. Suddenly, with a massive groan and a snap, the floor shatters, sending dozens of partygoers plummeting to the ground. Screams echo and glass shards slice bodies mid-air, and guests are impaled, crushed, or torn apart on beams and on the ground below. Among them is Paul Campbell, who grabs onto the edge of the shattered floor. As he dangles, glass digs into his palms, slicing skin and tendons. Blood drips as he loses grip, then plummets down, his body bouncing off a steel support beam with a sickening crunch before landing in a hip, leg's twisted spine clearly snapped. A brutal demise for a man who just proposed and learned he was going to be a dad. In the restaurant, a flamboyant chef is doing some flambé showboating. The open flame causes a nearby guest's dress to ignite. She runs through the restaurant engulfed in flames, knocking over tables as she screams, until she stumbles in the main dining hall where the glass concentration is at its peak. Boom! The gas finally ignites in full force, creating a massive explosion. The blast rips through multiple rooms, instantly burning several guests alive, melting faces and blasting bodies across the restaurant. The woman who started it is obliterated in the blast, her flaming silhouette briefly seen mid-air before it crumples to the ground. Panicked survivors make a run for the stairwell, but the structural integrity is shot. The stairs collapse like dominoes, sending guests tumbling out the open side of the tower. We watch bodies hit girders and ledgers on the way down, some cracking skull, others spinning into traffic below. Miraculously, the kid who threw the penny makes it safety below, at least for now. We'll get back to him soon. Several desperate survivors cram into the Sky Needle's main elevator, but it's well over capacity. As it descends, the overloaded system malfunctions, causing the car to drop suddenly. One unlucky man, the same one who had denied Paul and Iris entry earlier before being over capacity, tries to squeeze last minute, but the door closes on him, and when the lift drops, he is sliced in half vertically, or half remains outside, blood gushing in two directions. Talk about poetic justice. On the opposite side of the restaurant, people are still fleeing when a structural collapse sends the grand piano, once suspended on a platform, sliding off his moorings. First it slams down into the screaming woman, throwing her along with the piano through the glass window towards the ground. Seconds later, the panicked kid who had just escaped the stairwell disaster looks up, only to have the same piano crash through the window and obliterate him on the spot. It's cartoonish timing but horrifying in execution. Finally, the entire restaurant structure fails. Metal support twists and snaps, ceiling panels fall, screams, echoes as the saucer-shaped dining area collapses, hurling everyone inside to their doom. Glass, steel and human bodies all spiral together in the fall. No one in the structure survives. Only Iris Campbell remains conscious amid the destruction. Through the smoke and debris she spots a young William Bloodworth, cowering and confused. She grabs his hand and they make a run for it, but the other half of the restaurant collapses, leaving them strangled. Iris jumps to safety, barely catching the edge of a steel beam. Her wedding ring snags between two rebar rods, keeping her dangling, but as her weight pulls her down, the ring begins to slice through the skin of her finger. Blood pours as the metal grinds into bone. Bloodworth clings to her, but the ring finally tears through her flesh, and both of them plummet down screaming until they are impaled together in one jagged piece of debris in the rubble below. A slow, tragic death that marks the end of the vision. It's a total massacre with dozens of would-be victims, but good news for now. Iris snaps out of it and screams for everyone to evacuate. We learn this later in the movie, preventing the disaster from ever happening. The tower never collapses and nobody dies yet. By changing fate, Iris puts a bigger target on her family's back, as she later explains cheating death has consequences. Death starts going after everyone who should have died in that 1969 collapse, and their kids and grandkids, who were never meant to exist. Fast forward to the present day, where Iris's adult granddaughter Stefani is trying to uncover why her family has been haunted by nightmares of the tower. She finds Iris living in isolation, surrounded by journals detailing Death's design. Iris warns that Death is coming for her bloodline, picking off her descendants in order of age. To prove she ain't just being a crazy grandma, Iris takes a drastic action, setting up for the very first kill of the movie and of course our Count. In a final act of sacrifice, or hardcore I told you so, Iris steps outside her safe house to demonstrate Death's power to Stefani. A freak chain reaction kicks off, the wind howls, something snaps, and before you can say senior citizen, a metal weather vane is sent flying straight at Iris. It impales her through the mouth, shooting out the front of her head like a ghastly shish kebab. Talk about speaking her piece. Iris drops dead on the spot, proving her point in the goriest way possible. It's a shocking moment seeing the family matriarch dispatch herself with a little assist from Death really raises the stakes. Poor Stefani is left covering Grandma's blood and fully convinced that Death is coming. Iris may have survived the tower, but she couldn't escape the long arm, or should they say vein, of fate? Mulching Death design moves on to the next oldest family member, Stefani's great-uncle Howard. After Iris's funeral, the Campbell clan tries to regroup with a backyard barbecue, as if a casual cookout can fend off fate. Bad idea. In true Final Destination form, a chain of minor mishaps leads to a major mutilation. We get ominous shapes of a glass shard, a slippery patch of grass and a running lawnmower. You see where this is going. Howard ends up taking a tumble in front of the mower, which then runs him over and turns into a human mulch. The poor guy is shredded to pieces by the mower blades, spraying blood and barbecue fixings everywhere. 1 minute he was flipping burgers, the next he's ground beef. It's a quick but brutally messy death. Limbs and chuckles of Howard get flung across the yard. This kills equals parts horrifying and darkly comedic. Guess the family picnic is officially ruined. Next on the line is cousin Julia, who is scheduled for her fatal appointment. This time an out-of-control garbage truck enters the mix. And you know it's not just there to pick up the recycling. In a hilarious sequence, Julia is hit in the head by a football and snagged by the garbage truck's compactor mechanism. The machine drags her in and we witness a gnarly crushed job. Julia's jaw is split clean in half and one of her arms gets ripped by the grinding metal. Yep, Death literally takes out the trash with his poor cousin. The scene does not skimp on the gore. We see her lower face basically obliterating the spray of blood as the compactor crunches down. By the time the truck's done compacting, Julia's body is mangled and lifeless, left like a crumpled piece of garbage. It's a brutal demise that will make you think twice about standing too close to garbage trucks. Trash day has never looked so terrifying. The survivors figure out that traditional hiding isn't working, so they attempt a more proactive approach at the hospital, seeking advice from none other than William Bloodworth, Tony Todd's enigmatic corner making a welcome return. Bloodworth hints at some extreme cheat death strategies, including the old die and get revived trick. Shout out to Kimberly from Final Destination 2. Stefani's cousin Eric, a heavily pierced tattoo artist, decides to give this a try with cousin Bobby, but Death has other plans. While preparing in the hospital, an MRI machine malfunctions and things get magnetic in the worst way. The powerful MRI magnet yanks every metal object in the room toward it, including all of Eric's many body piercings. In a split second, Eric's lips rings, nose ring, earrings, and even larger piercings get ripped straight out of his flesh. Blood spurts from every torn hole as he screams, and it gets worse. A detached wheelchair flies across the room, pulled by the magnet, and spears him right through Eric's stomach, spinning him to the MRI machine. Oof. The impact is fierce, the wheelchair impalement practically folds him in half, leaving gore drippings from the MRI. By the time the machine powers down, Eric is a perforated, disemboweled mess on the floor. This kill is outrageously creative and gruesome, the kind of over-the-top set-piece Final Destination fans love. Lessons learned: MRI machines and metal don't mix, and Death sure knows how to weaponize a mechanical checkup. Immediately after Eric's magnetic mishap, cousin Bobby meets his maker in a freaky fashion. Bobby was in on the plan to flatline and be revived. In fact, moments earlier he'd intentionally eaten some trail mix despite a severe nut allergy, hoping to briefly die and cheat Death. But Death's not letting him off that easily. The chaos from Eric's demise triggers a vending machine nearby to start shaking. In true Rube Goldberg style, a large coil springs inside the vending machine comes loose and it launches out like a high-speed jack-in-the-box. Poor Bobby barely has time to register what's happening. The steel spring shoots straight into his forehead, penetrating his skull like a giant bullet. 1 second he's standing there, anaphylactic shock and all, the next sprung! He's got a new metal accessory protruding from his forehead and he drops dead instantly. The suddenness of this kill is as shocking as it is darkly funny. Who knew snack machines could be so lethal? In a franchise known for turning everyday objects into murder weapons, a vending machine spring to the dome is a standout. Bobby certainly didn't get to reap the benefits of Bloodworth's advice. Death cashed him out mid-plan. At least he went quick. Faster than a Snickers flying off the coil. With most of the extended family now gruesomely gone, Stefani and her little brother Charlie are left under the protection of their estranged mother Darlene, Iris's daughter. Desperate to save her kids, Darlene tries a new tactic: running and hiding. They retreat to Iris's old cabin in an RV, thinking maybe they can wait out Death's fury. Big mistake. You can't hide from the inevitable. Almost as soon as they arrive, Death orchestrates another elaborate chain reaction. It starts with a leaking gas line in the cabin and ends with a massive explosion that blasts the whole cabin to bits. The force of the blast causes a nearby street lamp post to topple over, and unluckily Darlene is right in its path. In a split-second slice of carnage, the heavy lamppost comes crashing down and obliterates her. One moment she's running to help her kids, the next she's half the woman she used to be. It's a quick but shocking death. Charlie witnesses the bloody massacre, adding even more trauma to his night. Death really lit up Darlene's world, and not in a good way. After surviving the cabin explosion, Charlie pulls Stefani out of the sinking RV and revives her with CPR. For a brief moment, it looks like the siblings might have beaten Death's design. Stefani technically died for a moment and was brought back, which in theory should break the curse, as per Bloodworth's advice. They take a breath, thinking the nightmare is finally over. 1 week later, the two are chatting with a friend's father about their ordeal, trying to make sense of it. That's when Death delivers its final punch. In a scene that will give every Final Destination 2 fan flashbacks, without warning, a speeding train derails at a crossing, colliding with a truck hauling heavy logs, and those massive logs go flying. Stefani and Charlie run from the derailed train until it finally comes to a stop. Now at that point I don't know why they also stop, because the logs come barreling in and crushes Stefani on the spot. Another log smashes down on Charlie, pulverizing him as well. It's a blink and you miss it double death that happens incredibly fast. One moment the siblings are alive, the next they're both flattened under timber, their bodies broken and bloodied. If you remember the highway pileup from Final Destination 2, you know how deadly flying logs can be, and indeed these final kills are a gruesome homage to that iconic scene. Death doesn't just knock twice, it takes them both out in one fell swoop, truly not letting anyone in Iris's bloodline escape. What a grim capper to the family saga, and an explosive final scare to end the film on. With the Campbell family line effectively wiped out, that's all the on-screen kills in Final Destination Bloodlines. Rest in peace to anyone else that train too, but our count sticks to the named characters as we saw get splattered. Now let's tally up the family's reunion worth of fatalities and see what we've got. By the end of Final Destination 6 we witnessed 8 deaths in the real timeline. For a series known to stack bodies, this film keeps a tight focus on the family members. Final Destination Bloodlines prove that even after 5 films, this franchise can still find new ways to murder people with random objects and keep us glued to the screen. Centering the story on one extended family's curse was a fresh angle, adding an extra layer of dread as we watch relatives fail to protect each other from death's design. The movie also rewarded longtime fans with some cool continuity nods, from mentioning Kimberly Corman's survival, hello Final Destination 2 reference, to bringing back Tony Todd as Bloodworth one last time. In fact, horror legend Tony Todd sadly passed away in late 2024, making this a posthumous performance for him. Seeing him reprise his ominous Carnage role guiding a new generation was a highlight and a fitting farewell. All in all, Final Destination 6 delivered the goods with its kills. It's gorier and more elaborate than ever, and critics have even called it the best reviewed in the franchise, not too shabby for a 6th installment. I had a blast watching these deadly dominoes fall. I hope you enjoyed reliving the carnage with me. And hey, before I wrap this one, I just want to take a moment to say thank you. I mean seriously, whether you're watching this on YouTube, supporting me on Patreon, or just dropping a like or a comment, you're helping this channel stay alive, and I don't take that for granted. I don't do many videos like this where I'm actually on camera talking, so if you're stuck around to the end, I appreciate the hell out of you. To all my Patreon supporters, you make this possible. To everyone who shares, likes and subscribes, thank you for keeping this going. If you like this video, or if you just like seeing people get absolutely annihilated by the rogue pianos and exploding staircases, consider giving it a thumbs up, dropping a comment or subscribing to the channel. Every bit of support helps and it keeps me motivated to make more wild stuff like this. That's it for me, stay safe, stay sharp, and remember, death always collects. Catch you in the next one.